Hi, my name is Ted Howard. I'm at the Loyal Edmonton Regiment Museum. I'm here to talk about the early history of the Army in Edmonton. The Loyal Edmonton Regiment started off as a reserve unit of the 101st Edmonton Fusiliers. When the World War I was declared, they created a special force called the Canadian Expeditionary Force, and they started the numbering system over again, and they raised units specifically for that war. Many of the people who trained for the 101st were transferred or joined the 49th Battalion in Edmonton. They went overseas as the 49th Battalion, but to identify the locality of their being raised, they put in brackets the Edmonton Regiment unofficially all through World War I, and in their orders it appears 49th Battalion bracket Edmonton Regiment. On return from the First War in 1919, the regiment was disbanded as far as the 49th Battalion, along with the rest of the CEF. Some members were transferred to the regular force. Most went back into the reserves onto civilian street. The 1st Edmonton Regiment was raised as of the 1st of January 1920, and it continued in service concurrently with the 101st Edmonton Fusiliers up until the Second World War. In the Second World War, the 101st Fusiliers did home defense as well as supplying men to the military for World War II. The regiment went overseas as the Edmonton Regiment in World War II, and while they were in Sicily, the name of the regiment was officially changed to the Loyal Edmonton Regiment, the Loyal coming from the affiliation with the Loyal Regiment of England as opposed to any specific event that would have caused us to be called Loyal. Introduction to the Battle of Ortona. All wars are quite political. Montgomery was pushing General Vaux to get going and move things into position before the winter struck in late 43. The Canadians had been instructed to advance towards Ortona and to take it. And to get there, they had to cross the Moreau River and the gully. By the time we got to Ortona, we had a change in the enemy in which we were fighting. We weren't fighting the German army anymore. We were fighting an airborne regiment, and there was quite a few changes in tactics, etc. The main issue being that the Germans had different ways of fighting than we did, that they would automatically retaliate after each and every battle. The Germans thought all the way through the Battle of Ortona that we were at full strength, and because the airborne regiment didn't do what the regular German army did, which is counterattack after every battle or after every loss, they didn't realize quite how weak on the ground we were. The amount of people that we had to replace us or to back us up was also highly depleted because of the other two battles of the Gully and the Moreau River. Throughout the Battle of Ortona, the Germans would simply withdraw when they found their position untenable, and they believed throughout the whole battle that the British, who they thought they were fighting, were well supplied. Supplying troops in combat is a very tricky and dangerous thing because it takes slow absorption for people to learn what their duties and roles are in a combat situation, whereas in Ortona they were down to around 300 men, and at one point they were considering withdrawing the regiment. If they had done so, they thought there would be a huge psychological damage to the regiment for being withdrawn from a battle, so they carried on. It was a political decision that was made between Vaux and Jefferson at the time. The regiment continued with the Loyal Edmonton Regiment after the war. We reverted from wartime service to reserve unit, and we continued with that title to this day. The function of the Loyal Edmonton Regiment is to keep a level of skills and interest in the military going in the local area, and then in times of need such as Afghanistan, etc., to send individuals overseas to take part in those various operations, usually under somebody else's hat badge. but when they return to the regiment and they pass on their experience and knowledge to the other locals. Reserves are part-time. It's something you do on Saturdays or weekends and Wednesday nights. It's an unpensionable type of service, or just traditionally has been, and it's something that you do because you're interested in.